Hello besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are back with another reading wrap up. Today we're going to be ranking all of my recent reads from worst to best, and I am so excited. This is essentially going to be my June and July reading wrap up. Not exactly, I am still filming this in July, so likely I'll read another book or two before the month ends, but I feel like this is how I've been doing it lately. I've been on such a reading kick the last few months. I feel like you guys probably picked up on that in my last wrap up video, and that has just continued into this month. I don't know what it is, guys, but every single month I just keep reading more and more and more books. And so I have literally so many books to talk about today, probably the most I've ever talked about in a video, like this type of video before. And it just makes me feel so good and so happy that I've just been loving reading lately. And the final thing that I wanted to touch on before actually getting into the wrap up and the reviews and stuff like that is just reflecting on how I did on my June and July TBRs. Honestly, not bad. I never aim for perfect, but when I choose my TBRs, I pick those books as like #1 priority books. And so here is the June TBR. And out of the 6 books that I chose for the month of June, I ended up reading 4 of them. And similarly for July, these are the books that I picked in my July TBR wheel video. And keep in mind, I am still in July as I'm updating you guys, but I have also at this point read 4 out of 6. I feel like that's pretty good, 2/3 for both months. Have to account for like some mood reading and like reading challenges and stuff. So I feel pretty good about that. And I feel like I will continue to strive for 4 or more moving forward. That is it for this little introduction. Now let's talk about every single book I've read recently from worst to best. I don't know if you guys have picked up on this year, but I have had 0 DNFs in 2026 up until this video. I don't know what exactly it is or why that's happened. I feel like I've just had really good luck, or I've been more in tune with the books that I want to read. And so everything that I've picked up, I've genuinely enjoyed, or I had a good feeling from the beginning that I was going to enjoy that book. However, I had not 1, but 2 DNFs in June and July, which is so sad. And I'm not a huge DNFer, but I will DNF a book if I don't think I'm going to love it. And so right here at the beginning, I wanted to just get those DNFs out of the way super quickly, and then we'll dive like deeply into all the other books that I read. The first book that I did DNF was The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This was a bit of a shock to me. I love fiction stories about struggle, and that's basically what I had heard that this book was about. And for anyone who doesn't know, my rule with DNFing books is I force myself to read 100 pages, and at the 100-page mark, I permit myself to make a decision on if I want to continue the book or put it to the side. And so for both of these books, I did decide around that 100-page mark. And in this book, we're following 2 main groups. I want to say you have Jewish immigrants and Black Americans living in the town of Pottstown, Pennsylvania in 1972. And we're watching as a lot of these characters undergo and experience very difficult things. But the reason that I decided to DNF this book was we're looking at a lot of very hard, very emotional things, but it's not written in a way where it really caters to your emotions. Like, I was reading about all of these sad things and these like difficult experiences that the characters were going through, but it was so matter of fact that I didn't feel it. And I just knew right from the beginning that I wasn't going to emotionally connect with this story. And if I don't emotionally connect with a book, I just don't tend to enjoy it. And so because I didn't like get sucked in and really connect with the characters, not for lack of trying, I did decide to DNF this book. Maybe soft, maybe firm DNF. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments, but I have decided not to continue this one. And then the other DNF that I wanted to just put in here, this one's a little bit more of a soft DNF, but I don't know, I'm going to come back to it later. That book is The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai. This one was a gift, and it looks really good and sounds really good, but I was hesitant about it. I won't get into it. I don't want to talk about these books very long. In this story, we're following Sonia and Sunny, and they're both in different ways experiencing a lot of loneliness in their lives, and their families, who I believe are both back in India, are trying to set up Sonia and Sunny. They're like, oh, our kids should date, they should be married. And that is basically the premise of the story. But we know pretty early on that the relationship between Sonia and Sunny doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work out between them. The families setting them up doesn't work. And so we pretty much just follow the characters and their lives living in America, their families. This is another one where I was just kind of bored the whole time, and I found myself really just not engaged. Like, I was tuning in and out of the book book and it wasn't really capturing my attention. And this is a very long book. This is like 650 pages. And so I was like, if I am not paying attention in the first 100 pages, I don't want to force myself to do this again for the next 550. I have decided for now to soft DNF. I like the writing style, just didn't connect with the story at the beginning. Okay, so now let's move on to the actual ranking of all of the books that I did successfully finish in the last 2 months. And the first book that I have to talk to you guys about is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I had never read a single book by Sarah Adams before, and this is just one of those authors that I've heard about from so many different people on so many different accounts, and I was really, really excited to pick this book up. And while it was fun, it definitely wasn't my perfect romance. In the story, we have our two main characters, Amelia Rose, who is a famous pop star, and then we have Noah, who is a small town baker. And Amelia is feeling very overwhelmed by her pop star celebrity lifestyle. And so she decides to run away in Audrey Hepburn style and go to Rome, but the closest Rome to her is Rome, Kentucky. And on this road trip, her car breaks down in front of a total stranger's home. That stranger ends up being Noah, grumpy small town baker man. And of course, they form a cute, sweet little relationship. And it's like grumpy sunshine, mild. It's not enemies to lovers. It's like dislike to lovers, I would say. And I still definitely do recommend this book, but I will say my biggest gripe with it was I really like books where the characters feel like real people and the emotions feel like real emotions. Whereas in this story, everything felt just like sweet and cutesy and surface level and sugar sweet. Like it just didn't feel real or realistic in any way. And sometimes that's fun for like the escapism, but it just was so like that for me to the point where I couldn't connect with it. It was super quick. I read this in like 2 or 3 days, which is not usually my style. I am a slow reader. I like to really like sink my teeth into my book. So it was fun and nice that I got through this book so quickly. Not really a standout book. And I'm unsure if I want to continue the series. You guys can let me know. Does the series get better? This is book 1 out of a 4-book interconnected standalone quartet. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I had a good time, but mostly only interested in continuing if the series gets better. So you guys let me know. Then next, I picked up the final book in the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. I read Wild Card, and this has been just like my before bed book series. I don't know what it is, but I love having just like a light, fun, easy, usually romance book to read before bed because they're very calming. They put me right to sleep. It doesn't stimulate my mind too much. And lately, just this entire small town romance series has been my before bed book. And this one was once again perfect for the job. And if I could read just like infinite Elsie Silver books before bed, I would do it. And this one was fun and different, I would say, than some of her other books because we're following Sebastian and Gwen, and they meet at an airport one night, and it's sort of a whirlwind night. Like they're there, I think they were like at the airport for a long time, or they were there overnight. I'm not exactly sure what the circumstances were. I finished this one a while ago, but they met, they have this whirlwind, like one night sort of romance thing. They connect, they exchange numbers, and then months go by and neither of them hear from the other person. But we later come to find that Gwen's boyfriend, or her like ex-boyfriend, I guess, is Sebastian's son. So this is like ex-boyfriend's dad trope, which I have absolutely never read before. And honestly, if you told me that I would ever read that trope, I probably wouldn't believe you. The only reason I did pick up this book and like read that trope is because it was the next Elsie Silver book and I did want to finish the series. And I had so much fun with this book. It was just so silly, and it's one of those things where the found family is really good. And so by the time you get to the 4th book, I just was like having so much fun because there were so many characters and so many other relationships in it as cameos, and I've like read their book and read their story, and so it's really fun to just see like where those characters got to. In terms of things I didn't love about this book, there were just so many things that the characters did, especially towards the end, that were completely unrealistic. And if anyone actually did these things, I would be like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, just so extreme and off the mark and ridiculous. Like, it was just so unrealistic, not in a like fun, cute, oh my God, romance way, just kind of like the characters are kind of stupid sort of way. And also the pacing, not my favorite. Like sometimes we were just like kind of jumping ahead in time, or things would move really slow. And so I was kind of just like getting tossed around a little bit, whereas usually I don't think I have that feeling with Elsie Silver books. But for some reason in this one, the pacing was really just a lot. Also, these books are so spicy, probably for me. I don't read a ton of like spice books. These are definitely on the spicier side of romance books. The last one I talked about, no spice. This one, like total polar opposite. So if you like spice, yes, these are so fun. I'm kind of in the middle, so do with that what you will. This one was fun, but now I don't have a good before bed book to be reading. I don't know what came over me, you guys. I literally have no idea. I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I have been putting this book off, guys, for months and months and months. I got this for $1 at a library sale so long ago, and I was so excited because it was going to be the perfect winter read. Winter came and went, didn't pick it up. Then I was like, oh my God, I need to read it in the spring. Spring came and went, still didn't read it. And what came over me to want to read this in the summer? I don't know, but I just was sitting on my shelf for too long. I was like, I need to get this book off of my TBR immediately. Wasn't even on my like monthly TBR. It was on previous monthly TBRs, not my most recent ones, but I was like, you know what? I just have to read it. And so this is actually the most recent book that I finished. I like just finished this. It kind of just reaffirms that like I am not a thriller person. And so I don't know why I like keep picking up thrillers from time to time. Like I think all things considered, this is a pretty good thriller. Like it was entertaining. It was interesting. It was a page turner. I did not guess the twists literally at all. Totally got me. I think I love to like care about the characters, and when you know that like someone's psychotic or someone's gonna die in a thriller book, I just have a hard time really investing and connecting, I think for obvious reasons. In this book, it's like a marriage in trouble. We're watching this couple as things have been going downhill for them, and right at the beginning they're like, okay, let's go on a winter little retreat, let's stay in a cabin in the woods and reconnect and see if we can save our marriage, right? However, when they go, they get stuck in this snowstorm, the cabin's really creepy, and things are just literally not at all how you would want your last ditch effort for your marriage to look, literally at all. And so yeah, things are really creepy. Another important detail is the husband in this book has face blindness, so he can't recognize people based on their faces. He can recognize you based on other features like the sound of your voice, the look of other parts of your body, your scents, that kind of thing. And so that was kind of an interesting added feature into the book. And this was fun. Like I said, I didn't guess the twist literally at all. I had a good time, but by the end of it, it was just like, I'm never gonna really think about it again. So I think I rated this like a 3.5 maybe. Like it was a good thriller. I just like, thrillers are like here compared to my favorite genres of like fiction and romance and fantasy. So this was fun. Definitely recommend, especially if you love thrillers. I'm just like not the girl to be asking about thrillers. I feel like everything after this point, I genuinely really loved and would absolutely recommend. I've been feeling like I've gotten pretty lucky with my taste and stuff like that. And so the next book that I picked up was Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. This is a book that one of my good friends gifted me for my birthday because she knows that I love Greek mythology. I'm a huge Madeline Miller fan. I'm a huge Percy Jackson fan, like all of that kind of stuff I just absolutely love. And so I picked up this book in a reading vlog actually, and it was also on my monthly TBR. And I had a phenomenal time reading this book. We are following the story of Ariadne. This is a Greek retelling. So if you guys know anything about Greek mythology, then you may know some things about Ariadne. I feel like now when I think of Ariadne, I think of Theseus and the Minotaur, because without Ariadne, Theseus could not have defeated the Minotaur. She's like a vital part in that myth, but we are more closely following Ariadne and her sister Phaedra in this story. And I really didn't know anything about Phaedra. I knew about Theseus and the Minotaur and a little bit about Ariadne, but I didn't really know a lot about her sister and like just everything, honestly, after the Minotaur gets defeated. And I thought that Jennifer Saint's writing was so pretty. Like it was so beautiful and lyrical. And honestly, I was like, you are the perfect person to write a Greek mythology retelling. Like I just don't think this type of story should be told in a way that's not beautiful and flowery. I loved the way that she told this story. I will say though, if you're not like a Greek mythology enthusiast, like if this isn't something that you're already interested in, like myself, I don't think I would recommend recommend this book just because there's so many stories that are told to you and so many characters and gods and demigods that are kind of forced down your throat a little bit. Like Jennifer Saint, I think she loves Greek mythology so much, is my guess, that there's just all these little tangents about stories and myths that I didn't think were super closely connected to the plot of this book. And so while it was fun, at times I was bored or just like confused as to why we were diving into these other myths when I didn't really see the connection to the main story. And so therefore at times the pacing could be a little bit slow, and there's a lot of action-packed things that do happen in this story. So I was like, why are we focusing on all of these minute details so much? That said though, I had a really phenomenal time with this book. And if you are a Greek mythology nerd like myself, I absolutely recommend this book. It was so fun and such like a beautiful read. Okay guys, I finally gave into the hype and I picked up the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. These books have been going around the internet for quite a while now, but if you are living under a rock and you do not know what the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon are, basically these start out as novellas. Like the first book is really short, but as you continue through the series, the books get a little bit longer, literally every single book. And we are following our female main character Emma in 1883 in London. And she lives in the, I believe, fictional town of St. Crispians, and the town is very quirky and the people who live there are a little bit strange and a little bit odd. And we're basically just reading her journal entries as she details her life and the things that are going on at St. Crispians and the like beautiful manor that she lives in called Lapis Lazuli House. And right at the beginning of this first novella, she is at odds with her cousin Archibald. I think Emma would describe him as her evil cousin Archibald, and some other people. Like she just has these plans for her life, and her cousin, among other people, get in the way of that. And so we read about her frustrations and the things that she's doing to fix them. But I will also say there's some very subtle magical realism elements in these books. And so I don't know, I'm not going to say what they are, but there's little curiosities that I guess happen. And I think it adds like a fun little like mystical layer to the story. It's very cozy. It honestly reminds me a little bit of the Emily Wilde series, which is literally completely different, but Emma is a little bit quirky and a little bit awkward, and it's cozy. I don't know, like it's just slice of life type of vibes, and there's just some similarities there to me. And if you're not like into that type of book, I'm listening to these over audio. So if you're not super into cozy books or like slow slice of life books, I recommend trying the audiobooks. That's what I've been doing and I'm loving them. Then perfectly into this ranking video, I would then put the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon Volume 2 by Beth Brower. And this one really just like gets into a little bit more of the nitty gritty. Like we meet a few more characters. We get to know Emma a little bit more. There's all these different like allusions to her backstory and these characters that are no longer in her life, and just little subtle things that we're like kind of guessing at. And so I feel like in the second volume, we get to know those characters a little bit better. We get to know Emma a little bit better. We understand the scope and the depth of her frustrations a little bit better. And I could just see this series steadily growing on me. I would say that both books have been a solid 4-star rating for me. Like that is exactly what I define a 4-star book to be. And they were so much fun. So I'm not gonna obviously dive deeply into this one because they're kind of together. They're honestly, the two of these books combined is like one full book. So far, I'm gonna say worth the hype, but I'm planning on continuing the series this month. So we'll see. Oh, I forgot to get this book off my bookshelf. 1 second. I hope you guys are so proud of me because I did finally finish my Percy Jackson reread. I reread book 5, Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian. And I'm so glad that I finally got through this. I really truly meant to get through it in 2025. This was like my goal. And then I finished the 4th book and just never got around to picking up the 5th book, which is literally my problem. Like if I don't know what that makes me, that I just can't finish series, but specifically the last book in series. And so I'm trying to fix that. So I went back and I finished book 5, and this was fun. And like, honestly, I have a very difficult time rating these books now because obviously like childhood Olivia, like loving Greek mythology and the demigods and all of that kind of stuff. This is like 5 stars, 10 stars also. Can we just talk about how Percy and Persebeth was like, I thought that was true romance back in the day. Like I would go to sleep smiling, thinking about Percy and Annabeth being together and getting together in this book, and it was just like I lived for it, okay? And then I'm reading this book like as an adult, I'm like, Annabeth isn't even barely in this book. Like, what was I so on about? Like, it's just so funny to reread books that you loved as a kid as an adult. Don't know if I recommend. With certain books I do, but I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this. But in terms of how it compares to some of these other books that I'm reading, I think I'm just gonna leave it unrated for now, because like nostalgia gives it a 5, but like as literature, I just don't know what to rate it, but I feel like it does fit in about here in terms of my worst to best ranking. And I thought that this was going to be my favorite book in the Percy Jackson series, but honestly, I still think it's either the third or the fourth book. I really loved the third book on my reread. Like, I'm kind of thinking maybe that one is my favorite. It used to be the fourth. But yeah, this was really fun. Just all battle, the demigods, everything all kind of comes together. So if you guys are itching to do a reread of the Percy Jackson series, maybe just try book 1 and see what you think. I had a blast, and I'm glad that I reread all 5, but it is different from when I was a kid. If you guys have been keeping up with my channel, then you know that I had the incredible opportunity to go and meet Ashley Poston at her most recent book tour. She has been traveling for her most recent release of The Someday Garden, and I was lucky enough to get tickets to a Q&A with her in Dallas. She did a Q&A, and then we got to meet her after, and she signed everyone's books, which has just been my favorite thing lately, like going to author events and meeting different authors who I absolutely love. Like, I don't know, like some people love concerts. I love meeting authors and like going to book events, I've learned. And so it was just so fun to be among some of the first people to get my hands on this book and hear her talk about the inspiration and all that kind of thing. And you guys know that I am an Ashley Poston stan. I'm a diehard fan. I love her books so much. And so just getting to read this book like right when it came out was the best feeling in the world. And actually, funny enough, when I was waiting for her to sign my book, there were a lot of people there. I actually read like 60 pages after the interview, but before I got to meet her, because there were so many people waiting to meet the woman, the myth, the legend herself. So I read some of this like in her presence, and then 60 pages in, she signed my book, and it was really cool. Anyway, that's not why you guys are here. The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston is a bit of, I don't want to say it's a Secret Garden retelling, because there are so many things about this book that are different from the Secret Garden, but I would say it's definitely inspired by the Secret Garden. In this story, we're following our female main character, Sophie Dreer, and she gets a job as a lead gardener at this beautiful manor, at this house in coastal Maine. And it is the most picturesque, beautiful place. Ashley Poston's writing just really paints a beautiful picture in your mind. Like, I'm picturing this beautiful historic home with these incredible historic gardens. And one day when she is working in the garden, a door appears, and it never appears in the same place twice, she learns. And so she goes through this door and she finds a very grumpy man inside the garden, and he's stuck there. And so she starts to get to know this like grumpy guy who is stuck in the garden, but equally she meets someone outside of the garden who is also fun and sweet and kind and silly in his own way. And so I would say it starts out as a bit of a subtle love triangle, but it doesn't persist very long. You do figure out who the love interest in this book is. I would say it becomes pretty clear around the halfway point. I'm not a big love triangle fan, so that's why I'm telling you that. Like, if you love love triangles, this isn't like a very intense one. And equally, if you don't like love triangles, I highly recommend this book, because it does exactly what I love and like puts away any wonderings of who the love interest is decently quickly. And the settings and the descriptions and the characters in this book were so heartwarming. And I think something that I mentioned earlier, I did talk about this, is I like it when characters feel real and we really get a good taste of like the depths of their emotions and how deep feelings can go. And Sophie is dealing with the loss of her best friend. She's grieving. We learn that right at the beginning of the book. We get to explore all of those feelings amidst like navigating grief while also moving on and finding new love in your life. And that's just a very difficult thing. And so I felt like those emotions were talked about so well. They were explored so well. And then the setting was just so stunning and beautiful. I absolutely loved this book. I honestly can't tell you exactly what it it is that didn't make it like a 5-star. I think it just wasn't one of those soul books. Like there was something about it. I loved every minute, but I just didn't feel it in my core, in my heart. But I did really love it, and I'm so happy that I read it. And I'm honestly begging each and every one of you guys to read this book if you haven't already, because it was so fun, and it's like the perfect spring summer read. Then I did something crazy, something I've been meaning to do for a while. Love how I'm talking about these books as if this is the order that I read them in. It's not. I don't even know what order I read them in at this point, but just know that they are getting better and better and better and better and better. Best feeling. Guys, finally dipped my toes, and by dipped my toes, I do mean dove into the deep end of the next SJM epic universe, that universe being the Crescent City series. I've put this book off for a long, long time, as I know many people do, because of how long it is and just because of the general things that get spoken about this series. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was very different from the rest of her work, but that was kind of it. I didn't know anything about the plot, anything about the story, just that it's magical creatures in modern day times. I put it off, and I decided to pick it up because of the new book that's coming out in October. I wanted to be fully immersed in the Massiverse, I guess. I think that's what it's called. And so in this book, if you somehow don't know, if you're like me and don't know anything about this fantasy series, we have our female main character, Bryce Quinlan, and she is half human, half fae, and she's like a party girl. She's just having a good time. She goes out with her friends, she drinks, she goes to the club, she does drugs and stuff, whatever. It's very much just modern day creatures partying at the beginning. But then this demon murders someone close to her. I won't say who. I didn't know who, and it was a surprise. This demon gets out and murders someone that she knows. It really changes her, obviously. It affects her. And then equally, we also have our other main character, Hunt Athalar. He's an angel. And so a year later, after this crime has been committed, the demon comes back and starts going on another murdering spree. And Hunt, the angel, is given this deal, this opportunity where basically if him and Quinlan, Bryce, but they call her Quinlan, can get to the bottom of this mystery, they can figure out who the murderer is, the demon is, then he will be free because he's enslaved to an archangel, I think. And it's fun, guys. I honestly do believe that the beginning of this book is a little bit slow, which is not good when the book is 800 pages. Yeah, 817, 820 pages. But the second half, and particularly the ending, was so fun and so crazy. And there were so many plot twists that I certainly did not see coming. They were so much fun. I got pretty invested in the characters. I don't want to say too much. I really like Bryce. I like Hunt, but I love Rune. I was texting one of my friends about it because she's read this book, and she's like, girl, there's a community for you. I was like, I am obsessed with Rune. I don't know why, but I'm not going to go into who he is, but if you know, I want to date Rune. Anyway, this book was crazy at the end. So much craziness went down, and I'm definitely so excited to continue this series and read the second book. I will say I rated it a 4.5 because, again, I just feel I'm so aware that there's so much that I don't know. I understand how deep her SJM books can go, and I just am so cognizant of the fact that there's so much information that I still don't have. And so I'm oh, surely I don't know everything that I'm gonna know. So I just don't feel this deserves a 5 because I don't know, I think upon a reread it could be a 5, but at this point it's kind of in the 4.5 range. That's how it was with me for ACOTAR and Throne of Glass. The books all started out lower and the series kind of just got better as I went. So super excited to read the second book. I'm scared because I'm also feel I'm already starting to forget things, but I am excited. I liked this a lot more than I thought that I was going to. And the urban fantasy thing, the modern day, guys, there's phones and I don't know what I can say on YouTube. Anyway, it was crazy. It was crazy. I had a great time with this book. Then on the total opposite side of the spectrum, maybe as different of a book as you could possibly go, I picked up a memoir. I read Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This was my book club book. I do have an in-person book club with 10 of my closest girlfriends here in Dallas, and it's really, really fun. Every single month we all text different book ideas and we vote on them, and then whichever book wins we read. This month we read Know My Name, and for anyone who is unfamiliar, this is Chanel Miller's memoir where she details her experience as the assault victim there was a big sexual assault case that went on years ago now at Stanford. It's the Brock Turner versus Emily Doe case. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, so I won't get into the details now. But Chanel, her identity was kept a secret for obvious reasons when the case was going on. But years later, she came forward as like Chanel Miller. We now know who she is. And she wrote this memoir documenting her experience. She goes through like the actual sexual assault. She talks about the immediate fallout, what that was like for her. And then a huge part of the book is actually the legal system and her experience in court and just how difficult it was and how messed up the legal system is and just how problematic so many different systems are that we have. Like she talks about so many different things that Stanford as an institution did and how, like, again, just how complicated and messed up the legal system is. And just there were so many things that she had to go through, and like thinking about being assaulted like she was and then having to go through all of these legal hoops and just everything that she had to go through. Like it was very enlightening. Equally, I will say this was so sad. It was difficult for me to get through because every time I would pick it up, I knew how sad that it was going to make me. And I'm not great at like picking up books that make me sad, if you know what I mean. I think a lot of people maybe feel that way. And so I would just get a wave of sadness before even like resuming this book. And so that was really difficult for me. All that to say though, now that it's over and now that I finished it, I'm so happy that I read it and I'm so happy that I got through it. It's one of those stories where while you're reading it, it's so hard and it's so sad, but by the end of it and when you're done, you're so glad that you read it and you learned so much. It's just so, like, as a woman too, it's just so aggravating and so frustrating hearing about these things that women like do go through every single day. I really enjoyed this memoir. I thought it was so well written and so eloquent, and I just like am a huge fan now of Chanel Miller. I didn't like know a lot about her as a person. I feel like I knew her as a victim, which is like exactly why she wrote this memoir. So now I just feel like I know her and like the person behind Emily Doe a lot better. So I feel like she really accomplished what she was trying to for me as a reader. I highly recommend this memoir, but I will say just like be in the right frame of mind when you read it. Like if I was not doing well, I would not read this book. It was really good. One of my absolute favorites from the last 2 months. Okay guys, we've now entered 5-star territory. Oh, I should say, I don't rate memoirs, but like you can clearly tell that I absolutely loved it. I'm not gonna rate someone's life experiences, but just know that like I loved it. It was phenomenal. That's why it didn't have a rating. But now we're switching into books that I can confidently say are 5 stars. And we have 2 to talk about, which is amazing. I will say, if you guys are interested in my last wrap up that I did, I had the most amount of 5 stars I've ever had in my entire life. So I'll link that in the description box down below if you want just like some banger book recommendations. I have a little bit less this time, but beggars can't be choosers. And the first one is a reread. So I suppose in the last 2 months, I only had 1 new 5-star. But oh, it was a 5-star, if you know what I'm saying. Like all caps, exclamation points, underline, like I loved it. But the reread that I did was, some of you probably could have seen this coming, is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. As I mentioned before, I am rereading the entire ACOTAR series rather slowly, I would say, in preparation for the new Sarah J. Maas book that we're getting in October. Also, guys, can someone please, like Sarah J. Maas needs to drop the title, the cover, and the synopsis, because I am absolutely dying to know who this next book is going to be about. I have my theories who this book is going to be about, and I do think my theories are like the main theories. If you guys have not read this series, I'm gonna, for like literally 10 seconds, I'm gonna say what I think the next book will be about. So if you don't want spoilers, skip to this timestamp. My theory is that it's gonna be a love triangle book between Elaine, Azriel, and Lucian, which is like so tea. But like, who knows? That's like my theory. I feel like it's the leading theory, but TBD. I'm really excited. I loved this book. I had such a phenomenal time rereading it. I read this on vacation. I did physical book reading. I did audiobook listening. And as this is so popular, I'm not gonna like dive into the plot and the summary. I have so many other videos about this book and this series, but just know that I absolutely loved it. I had the most phenomenal time. And I really, guys, if you are like, should I reread ACOTAR before the new book comes out? 100% yes. Like I did not realize how much I had forgotten. Please, like, I cannot stress enough, it will help so much if you go back and reread these books, because I like think I remember so much, but then you're actually reading them and it feels like I'm reading it for the first time because there's so much that I forgot. And this book is just epic. Like the ending, epic. The whole thing, epic. I loved this book. Okay, that brings us to the final book of this video, which means that out of the last 2 months, this is my favorite book that I have read. And that's like a mighty spot, because after 2 books, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I've talked about it's about to be 15 books in this video. That's pretty high honor. Best book out of 15. And that book is none other than The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. I'm so glad that I have a reading vlog of me reading this. If you guys happen to be interested in the play-by-play and my experience reading this book, I will link that video in the description box down below. I don't do like a ton of reading vlogs on my channel just because they don't tend to perform quite as well as my other videos, which to me is an indicator that you guys don't enjoy those videos quite as much, which maybe that's not true. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did do a reading vlog, which isn't my normal type of video, for The Bright Years among a couple other books, and it was so good. It was so good. This book follows our 2 main characters, Ryan and Lillian Bright, and at the start of the story, they are very happy, very young, and very in love, and it's just a really beautiful thing watching the 2 of them fall in love with each other and become so connected to each other. But we learn pretty early on that they both have secrets that they're keeping from each other, and those secrets follow them throughout their entire lives, and they really permeate into the relationship. There's no escaping them. And the thing that I really loved about this book that I don't see often is it is a multi-generational story. So I feel like it reminds me, but like it reminds me in some ways of like Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Isabel Allende, like their works, in that it's a multi-generational story. So like if you guys have read The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende, that follows a family, the Trueba family, through 4 generations. This is similar, not as long, but like we're following the Bright family through 4 generations, and we watch as these secrets and these traumas and these horrible things that like the grandparents or great grandparents experienced or like introduced into the family, like follows people throughout many years. And I just loved like the big picture scope of this book, and watching how like you can plant a seed 100 years ago, and that thing can like that thing can follow you, and that tree can grow, and it just impacts your family and your kids and their kids. Like I loved that theme throughout this story. There were certain characters in here that I really connected with. I will say Lillian and Ryan have a daughter. Obviously, this is a multi-generational story, and I really connected with her. Her name is Georgette. I don't want to, the like later in the family you go, the more spoilers obviously there are, so I'm not going to really talk about Georgette or like why I loved certain people. I loved the ending of this book. I definitely was crying quite a bit. It just was a really hard hitter, and I emotionally connected to so many different things about this book. And something really special about this book, to me at least, is I got to go to a very intimate event with Sarah Damoff. So she did an event in Dallas. She's from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I honestly bet she's more in the Fort Worth area based on like this book and just like things that she had said. But I found this event that she was doing at this very small bookstore where there was literally 25 seats. There were 25 spots available. And so I texted a couple of my friends and I was like, hey guys, like I found this event. Sarah Damoff is talking. I've really been wanting to read her book. It's super small, super intimate. I'm going to go. If anyone else wants to go, like here's the link, you can get tickets. And so me and 3 of my friends went to go see Sarah Damoff talk. And again, it was like a small little bookstore. There were 25 people inside, and it was just so cool and so intimate. And I feel like, I don't know, Sarah Damoff in this book has really blown up and grown so much in popularity, but she did this event like for her Dallas, Texas like community. And I really loved that she did that. And it was just, I'm so glad that I found this event and found these tickets and told my friends about it. Because yeah, obviously we all got tickets and got to go. And so I hadn't read this book yet, and I got to hear about her process and just different things that went into the creation of this story. And one thing that I really loved learning about that I haven't talked about online, but Sarah Damoff's mom is blind. And so she, growing up, got really, really good at describing things to her mom, probably in a very unique way so her mom could understand things. And I feel like you see that in this book and in the writing. Like there's just very unique descriptions of things that maybe aren't intuitive or aren't the way that we would think about describing something else. But it's like when I would remember that she talked about how her mom was blind and how she would describe these things to her mom, it just, I don't know, it gave me like another level of appreciation for the book. And there were so many different things like that and different anecdotes and stories that she talked about. And so yeah, that was just a really fun and really intimate event. I know I've been talking about this book for a while, but I just absolutely loved it. I got to meet her. She was so kind. I definitely blacked out and probably said something really weird and awkward, but I literally black out when I meet authors. She signed my book. And so it was just so fun to like go to that event and meet her and then read her book and love it, for it to be like one of my favorite books of the year. Like that was just so cool. So definitely my favorite book that I've read in the last 2 months. And I'm so glad that I got to it. And I really hope that you guys take this as your sign to read it soon. Okay, besties, those are the 15 books that I have read, or 2 of them were DNFs, but you get the idea. The 15 books that I have read in the last 2 months, ranked from worst to best. I would absolutely love to hear what you guys are reading, and particularly some of your favorite books from the last 2 months. My physical TBR is getting little itty bitty teeny tiny. I feel like it's kind of been itty bitty teeny tiny for a while. So I just feel like I have so much freedom and flexibility with the books that I read that I'm going to be reading, because my physical TBR is so small. So I can get any book from the library or go book shopping for any book that I want. And I feel so like open to recommendations and stuff. So please let me know what your guys' favorite books have been. Also, if you have read any of these books, please let me know. And finally, if you made it to this point in the video, comment down below. How about we do a crescent moon emoji for Crescent City, so I know who made it all the way here. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys want to see more bookish videos from me. And I think that's it. So I hope you guys are having the absolute best day and the absolute best reading month. And I will see you on Saturday for my next bookish upload. Bye.